Louisiana All American Sports Show. 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 Louisiana. If the sports you wanna talk about, then listen to the hottest show that's coming out the South. It's Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels, man. They're gonna sit you down and tell you all about the game and make it plain. 96.9 FM, that's the station. To hear the best sports talk show in the nation. Without hesitation, you should get with this and get your popcorn ready for you better not miss. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana. It's Joker B. Check this out.
Ooh, I'm just so fresh, so clean. Good morning, Baton Rouge. It is a beautiful Saturday morning. Today is Holy Saturday, March 26th, 2016, and you are tuned into the 13th edition in the year 2016 of the Louisiana All American Sports Show. Good morning. This is Eric Hatfield.
And I'm Gerard Piper, a.k.a. Joker P.
And try that again.
Gerard Piper, a.k.a. Joker P. What's up?
Technical difficulties. And
Right.
It's Coach Perry. I'm assuming Coach Perry Daniels will be joining us a little late. He's got some the academic pursuits in the nation's capital, and I know it's going to have him cutting it just close to showtime before he joins us, but I'm sure he'll be along very shortly. Anyway, it's a beautiful day in the capital city,
yes,
and it is time to get locked and loaded for another Louisiana All-American Sports Show. Joker, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Oh, man, I'm just enjoying this good weather. You know, it's March Madness, and so this is a time where, you know, it's a lot of upsets been going on. There's a lot of things we haven't. Everybody's bracket is messed up. So mine, I had to tear mine up last week and throw it away. So, you know, I'm just excited. I'm just happy to be here, man.
Yeah, I had to set my bracket ablaze and just light it away. I mean, between the you know, they have most of them have set up the I guess your South and your East brackets on one side, then you have the West and the Midwest on the other, if I remember correctly. Anyway, that right side of the bracket, particularly the one that had Michigan State in it, the one that had Syracuse and Gonzaga playing for the Elite 8 spot, the regional final spot. That bracket for most people just went.
Who saw that?
Right up in really up in smoke. I mean, nobody saw that coming, and yep, just shot to little pieces like Swiss cheese left all over the place. Michigan State gone. Other schools.
Out of there.
There were other major upsets taken. Well, I'm drawing a blank at the moment. Interestingly though, all the number one seeds are still alive, and you have a couple of 1-2 matchups in the regional finals. Now, I did not stay up for the North Carolina game. I assume they won last night.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I thought they were on top. So they face Villanova. That's a 1-2. Oregon versus Oklahoma. That's a 1-2. That's right. UNC blew their opponent away last night. Now that I remember, I did tune in late for that. So yeah, that Syracuse. You have in the Elite 8. That was something I didn't see them making it out of the first round. I mean, Syracuse was a team that had horrendously underachieved during the regular season. You just kind of figured they might be cannon fodder early in the first round, and those guys have advanced.
Yeah.
So
Coach Boeheim just now coming back too. He suspended for a lot of the year, and so that's a team that has experience and has been there before. And I think we actually kind of underestimated that team. With Syracuse's zone, they have pretty much the best zone in the business. If you can't hit those outside shots or get any rebounds the way they play, they change the way you play and force you to play their tempo. And so they outlasted. But it's been actually a lot of comebacks I've seen in this tournament too, man. And the biggest one, of course, was the A&M comeback.
That was unbelievable.
Like, oh my goodness!
That blew my bracket to shreds. I had NIU in the Sweet 16, and about with 34 seconds left, I was very comfortable. I'd be right and be able to tell everybody at the office I told you so.
Right. Well, up 10 with 34 seconds left, you're usually right. Almost like You called the game with the Alumni.
Oh, Lord, yes. The Louisiana All American Sports Game of the Week we brought to you was the McKinley High School basketball alumni game, right live from McKinley High School in the bottom. We had the McKinley blue team and the McKinley white team. It was a very colorful contest, and you can find that at replay at LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com. The white team was leading by about 10 points with about a minute and change to go. I started singing "Turn Out the Lights." But now, and I got kind of robbed a little bit because the referee decided to start putting one-and-one shots, bonus shots in, when at first he said they weren't doing it. Now, if I had known they'd be able to force the clock, stop with fouls, and then awful free throw shooting, I might have changed it. But the blue team forced white team to go to the line. White team didn't make its free throws. Blue team got 3-point shots. It was just like it was drawn up. And the blue team steals the game with 5 seconds left with a layup at the end. It is the only time this year, only time ever I think I've been wrong on Turn Out the Lights.
Only time.
So I have to modify it and say that I've never gotten it wrong on a game that counts. That's an exhibition game.
You're going to have to modify it, man, because on all the games in that game, and I remember, and when you was getting ready, I was like, wait a minute, you sure? He was, I'm not worried about it. Okay, are you sure? I think it was maybe an 8-point lead or something to that point. And I was like, are you sure? And Eric was, hey, I'm sure, Turn off the lights. Oh, man, and
Oh, the ref fooled me. The ref fooled me big time, man.
But what a comeback it was. It was a great time we had down there. Great turnout. We saw a couple of people got honored, for helping out in the community. People that's always there during the games. The people that don't get, you don't hear these people.
Right.
People behind the scenes that make a lot of these things work. And if it's not for these volunteers and people that take the time out of their busy schedules to help their alma mater, and those guys were honored.
Absolutely.
With a plaque, 2 of them actually, and so I thought that was a good thing too. Overall, just being around your peers,
right,
and seeing some great competition and great fun. We got an interview with Calvin Nichols, and a couple of great historians was there, so it was a great time for me. I had fun.
Joker, look, we are a community-oriented radio station. Why don't you go ahead and talk about a couple of those individuals with whom we spoke?
Well, we talked with first person was the guy that award was Jason Jones, and Jason Jones is he's the band director for the McKinley High.
Does a heck of a job,
and he does a heck of a job, and he's getting a lot of credit, which is overdue. He's been that way since he got out of high school. He went to high school with me. He was a couple of years behind me, and I remember when he came there, and he was. When he joined the band, my brother was in the band, and I played in the band. I played in the drum set and played the cymbals. And so he came in, played in the band, and just from being around the band and being around Mr. Cage, which was the original music director, and well known here in the Baton Rouge area, Mr. Cage kind of taught him everything and groomed him. And he stepped in and kept the band alive, and they've won contest after contest. Actually, they have a band, a big band contest here is coming up real soon, sponsored by KQXL, I think. And I was asking him because I didn't hear McKinley's name.
Right.
And I asked him. I said,
"That's surprising."
Right. And I asked him. I said, "Wait a minute, because I know they're known for their band." And he told me that they did ask him. They was one of the first ones they asked. But it was some type of way with just with their scheduling and everything and their itinerary or whatever. He couldn't make it this year. And he was saying, so just be on the lookout though. But they were asked, because I thought about that myself. So, but big ups to Jason Jones. He was given an award, a humanitarian award, and also to Lance Bowers. And Lance was another friend of mine. He's not an athlete, didn't play in the band. It's just a young man that went to school and just loved everything that has to do with McKinley Panthers. And his family grew up right down the street from McKinley, and he has a big family. And all of them are known for being able to volunteer and help out in the school. So that just was like in his blood. And since I graduated, he's always been there helping with tickets, helping at the stadium, helping the basketball if they need anything, helping the players, whatever the coaches need. He was there, and he's been there right at 30 years now, consistently. And so that's why he was honored with an award too. And so, those were some of the people that we got a chance to meet and got a chance to talk to and share the evening with. So, like I said, it was just a thrill. And I want to give big shouts out to those guys again.
Yeah, absolutely. The McKinley alumni, and I said this multiple times during the broadcast, I tend to be really taken aback by how involved. I've never seen of any public high school in America that I've witnessed. I've never seen an alumni base that is involved long term, or a community that's involved long term with a high school as the McKinley alumni base and the community immediately surrounding McKinley High School in South Baton Rouge. It really is something special, something different. Perry has told me this multiple times. It was the first public high school for African Americans in Louisiana.
Yes.
And now it is a very diverse student body, multiple ethnicities and backgrounds, with a gifted program and a magnet program. I really like everything about the school, and now, of course, we also, and I won't dwell on this too long, but I have a couple of packages on the way from the Stork. I got twin girls on the way, and I had commented. Oh, why not? This is really for Angela, not for me.
Right.
Because she's doing all the heavy lifting.
That's right. Go, Angela.
But I had commented long before this pleasant announcement multiple times, and I just told her everything I observed, because we cover the school so much. I would have no problem sending my children there, and now that might actually end up coming to fruition in about 13 years.
Right.
So we'll take first things first, one at a time. But
first things first. I didn't know how things are going to be next year. We talked about this. I'm anxious to see how the new playoff system and the new select, non-select type of they're going to have coming in this year, and how that's going to affect teams this year.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, because I don't know how the formula works. It gets downright confusing. McKinley's one of those schools. If you just tell me, forget man on the street, tell me Eric Hatfield, who covers high school sports every week for the last 5 years, I could make an argument either way that it can be select or non-select. The formula, I don't get it, but I don't know which way it's going to go for McKinley per se, but it is definitely going to rock the world of high school athletics. We did reach out to Coach Terrence Williams, the director of the Louisiana High School Coaches Association. We were unable to reach him for comment. He's a very busy man, but we were unable to get him on the line. We're going to try again, though. We've spoken with Coach Williams a couple of times. Very nice guy. We had a chance to speak with him at the East Baton Rouge Parish Boys Basketball Tournament. You can check that out on Louisiana All American Sports.com. Good dude. We're going to try to get his comment eventually, though, on that, because honestly, again, you and I do this every week, and I've got my hands up in the air like I don't really understand how this works. So I can only imagine the person listening at home or in their car, maybe as a kid in the playing sports in a high school, either public or private, or magnet or otherwise, or charter, and is probably wondering, what does this mean?
What does this mean?
Well, I don't know. I don't know, and I have my face in this every week. I know parents don't know, and probably the kids are like, well, I don't know, like right. Scooby-Doo. So we would like to reach out to Coach Williams, and we're going to try to get a hold of him. One of these weeks, sooner or later, we would love to talk to him about that. We were going to go into the power rankings and just tell you which teams in the Baton Rouge area were performing well on the diamond, but the LHSAA site has its database is down right now, so we're unable to deliver that. We will be delivering you high school baseball. Tune in this Friday, 7 p.m., as we'll have the little late starting in April this year, but hey, better late than never. As Louisiana All American Sports will bring you its premiere on the diamond, its first high school baseball game, high school LHSAA. Good grief, I'm just blabbing all over the place. LHSAA high school baseball game of the 2016 season, as we'll have the Zachary Broncos going across the river to West Baton Rouge Parish. They will face the Bruley Panthers. That game will be heard. The replay of that game will be heard. Well, it'll be new to you unless you go to the game, but it'll be heard right here on 96.9 FM, WHYR, Baton Rouge Community Radio, also streaming at WHYR.org, 7 p.m. next Friday. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to going to Bruley again. They always they roll it out right. We've seen that baseball facility a couple of times covering some football games. It's nice. So
and
looking
talk
forward
about
to
another
that.
school that supports alumni support and the community support.
Yes, indeed.
Bruley is one of them.
Well, the grown folks show up just as well as the kids and the teachers. I just love seeing communities involved with their schools. The first Bruley football game we covered on the campus, Joke and I both noticed they're tailgating, like an hour and a half before the game.
Right.
You don't see that, especially the 3A schools. Oops, let me turn that off. It's a smaller school relatively to the others. We see that at McKinley, but that's, we talked about McKinley. That's like the 800-pound gorilla as far as big alumni support. But boy, Bruley is right there. That's the junior Kong right there. They come out and show up. So anyway, Joker, I already know where you're going. I think this is a the perfect group considering some of the celebrity news of last week.
Yeah, of course. And he's looking at one of the song for the day, which I'm going to play, is a Tribe Called Quest, Scenarios. One of my favorite Tribe Called Quest songs is featuring Busta Rhymes in his early days. A lot of people may not remember, but they was all click tight. They was all like flip mode and stuff. So
it makes sense. I did not know that.
Yeah,
but it makes perfect sense to me.
And we're playing this, and of course, R.I.P. today to Phife Dawg. Phife Dawg was of the cast of A Tribe Called Quest with Q-Tip, probably one of the top 10, most definitely all-time groups in hip-hop history. And so Phife Dawg, for him to leave us at the age of 44 is young. We haven't got an update or a news yet exactly how he passed away, but in past years, Phife Dawg had been suffering. I think he had a kidney transplant and diabetes. And so this one is definitely for you, and I remember it. So check it out, A Tribe Called Quest, Scenario.
Here we go. But just a moment, folks. It's always brought to you by the World Wide Web, and of course, the World Wide Web sometimes has its quirks. But I am looking forward to hearing this one. I did not know the Busta Rhymes connection at all.
You didn't really?
No, I did not. It makes sense because you listen to his flow and his style. It looks like you're stuck. Let me see if I have any more luck. If maybe my internet's a little more cooperative.
I get it right here. Let's see if we can do it this way.
There's always more than one way. That's the benefit of having these super fandangled smartphones nowadays. Doggone it. Now, well, anyway, look, coming up on the other side of this, we're going to talk about, here we go.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario?
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? Here we go, yo.
Here we go, yo.
So what's scenario?
Man, oh man.
R.I.P. Phife Dawg.
Yeah, man. That's I'll tell you, Tribe. That was a trend-setting group, man. I mean, they were a different kind of sound, and I tell you what, man, they were a game changer, just with that funky kind of vibe, and that they were what you call, I hear guys. I don't like to even dip my toe in this argument, but you hear people talk about what's hip hop and what's rap. But whatever hip hop is, whatever definition you want to throw out there, they were definitely hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
That's what they were. They kind of remind me of in their time being pretty unique with them and De La Soul. You know what I mean? Getting away from really the norm,
right?
Just doing music and not being. I always looked at them as not being pigeonholed or not being, you know what I mean, followers of what the trend was in music at that time. And so I give big ups to those guys. And R.I.P. once again to Phife Dawg, man. Of course, we always going to remember the 5-footer. So, once again.
All the time, Tip. You're on point 5? All the time, Tip.
Man. All the time, Tip. Yep. That's going down as, you know what I mean? That's hip-hop nostalgia. That's... pop culture right there.
Way too soon. Way too soon.
Time.
All the time. Anyway, look, we have the lines open right now. Area code 225-343-9927. Area code 225-343-9927. If you'd like to get on the conversation. Well, it's that time of year it's we got the Elite Eight going on.
Yeah, got the Elite Eight going on.
We previewed it for you earlier, but let's go ahead and get into some NCAA tournament.
Uh-oh.
And then there were 8. Very interesting. It's one of those few times where all 4 number 1 seeds are alive. Now, I am going to throw this out from memory. I'm not reading this off of an article, so I might be wrong. But if I remember, the only time ever in the history of the NCAA tournament that 4 number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four was in 2009. Interestingly, those are the 4 I picked, but I didn't win my office pool because the rest of my bracket was shot to pieces. But All 4 number 1 seeds made it. Straight chalk, homie. Well, right now, all 4 number 1 seeds are alive. By the way, if I'm wrong, you can correct me at 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927. North Carolina won it that year in 09. Anyway, Kansas, North Carolina, Virginia, and Oregon, all number 1 seeds, all alive. Number 1 and number 2 alive on the west and south sides of the bracket. No, Villanova and Oklahoma, both number 2 seeds. Villanova and Kansas will get it on tonight at 7. Almost 8 o'clock our time, 7:49 our time. Tip-off for the West bracket, Oregon and Oklahoma, will be 5:09 our time. And then tomorrow, we have the regional finals in the East and Midwest brackets. Those definitely got blown to pieces with some of the 2 and 3 and 4 seeds getting knocked out early. As North Carolina, Syracuse is the ultimate Cinderella of this tournament. They will face Virginia at 5:09 tomorrow. And then, of course, North Carolina, number 1 seed, will host 6th seeded Notre Dame at 7:49 tomorrow.
North Carolina against Notre Dame. Did you see the Notre Dame game yesterday?
No. I did not see the end. I know they beat Wisconsin, but I missed that one completely.
That was a great game. Notre Dame was able to pull it out within the last second. And what I've been seeing is breakdowns of teams in the last seconds of games. The same way Texas A&M came back and won that game. It was almost the same way with Wisconsin and this team. They was able to steal the ball at the end of the game with Notre Dame. Notre Dame was down most of the game. They finally got a lead. I want to say with under a minute left, maybe a 1-point lead. So they had been battling this team and losing against this team, against Wisconsin, all night. But in the last minute of the game, they was down like 3. They needed to foul. They was down. They was going to need to foul because it was under 30 seconds, so they was going to have to foul, and try to make it a free throw.
Sounds like the McKinley game.
Right. But they didn't foul right away, and it was sort of the same way. They didn't just come out and foul. And when they tried to inbound the ball, when A&M tried to,
inbound the ball.
Yeah, inbound the ball. Notre Dame was able to steal the ball in Wisconsin, and they was down 1, take the ball, get the lead. Now it was under 10 seconds. So Wisconsin gets the ball again, tried to bring it in, and the guard, he took it all the way to the hole and missed the layup. So, he had a little pressure on him, but he kind of blew the layup a little bit. And, they got the rebound, and that was it. But it was a good game. I thought Notre Dame just gutted it out. So I'm looking at those matchups. Which one you want to take first?
Oh well, let's look at that. We can look. Let's start with the 2 games today. But I got a comment on that. I'm shocked that a Bo Ryan coach team. This is the team that was a national runner-up last year.
Bo Ryan is not there anymore, but his assistant is.
But what happened with him? What happened with Bo Ryan? Was he sick, or he just retired, or what?
I think he just retired.
That's right. You're right. I had a Back to the Future time lapse. I completely forgot about the retirement.
And he caught a little flack because he, the way he did it, they had no other choice but to make, I think, his assistant, his longtime assistant, be the coach.
Oh, that was on purpose.
He basically tried to, the way he did it, where when he fired it, they didn't have a chance to hire a coach or whatever. They had to go right in and go to the interview.
That was no coincidence. That was no accident.
Right,
he took care of his people. Right. That's what you're supposed to do. Good for Bo.
He actually said that, and so, he got a little bit of flack for that. But, hey, they still went far, even though they lost a couple of great players because they went to the Final Four.
Comiskey went to the pros, and Sam Decker went to the pros. But, look, you got to still, all right, somebody off the Bo Ryan coaching tree, and I thank you for correcting me. I can't believe I forgot about the little flap. But here's the bottom line. If you have a lead late in the game and you can't do the basics like inbound the basketball and protect it, you deserve to lose. If you can't put a button on a big lead in the last minute, you deserve to lose. I'm guessing, without even having seen the highlights, they probably expected to be fouled. Notre Dame didn't foul them, waited for them to do something silly with the ball, which they did, it sounds like, and it cost them. That's exactly what happened with Northern Iowa.
And what was so crazy, the end of the game, the Notre Dame defense, like I said, they stopped them, and then when they had under 10 seconds left. So Wisconsin had another chance to at least try to tie it with a 3. So they had about 6 seconds left. They only had 1 timeout. So I was thinking they was going to take the ball out, get to half. What their plan was to take the ball out, get to half court, and call that final timeout with maybe about 2 seconds left.
Which would have made,
right. So because they had to go full length of the court.
Right.
And so what the guard did when they took the ball out, he ran. You know how a guard runs to half court like he's going to get ready to do the timeout. Mm-hmm. When he was getting ready to dribble the ball, when he put his hand out to do the timeout, the other player stole the ball. So kind of anticipated what he was going to do. And so before he can even try to turn his body, like a lot of times they'll turn their body and call timeout or whatever in the corner.
Why would he just pick up the ball?
Right, before he can really turn his, the guard made that play, broke on the ball. Almost kind of remind you of that interception with the Patriots. Kind of like he just undercut him.
Yeah, talking about the Malcolm Butler kick.
Malcolm Butler, exactly. And it kind of reminds you that he was able to just get position and get in there and get the ball, so they never even got a chance.
You deserve to lose. So. I mean, really, when you do that, you deserve. I feel badly for young people in the situation. You deserve to lose. That's ironically, it's how they beat Xavier in the final moment by setting up properly for that shot.
Right.
They lived by the sword they died by. Well, look, let's talk. Let's go across the bracket. Our very first game is Oregon at Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
I'm not surprised. I have had Oklahoma in my Final Four. I'm just, I'm waiting any day now for that part of my bracket to get busted. It's one of the very few parts of my bracket that is, still left available that didn't get caught up in the hail, the hail of straight fire.
Get out there.
But buddy, they looked so confident in that game. I believe it was Friday afternoon. No, it was Thursday. It was Thursday night. They had the first game because I remember by the time I got home, they had already knocked out Virginia Commonwealth. And I'll strike that Virginia Commonwealth. Knocked off Texas A&M. Sorry about that. They beat Virginia Commonwealth a while back. Knocked off Texas A&M, and I remember Buddy Howell was taking pictures with Kobe Bryant. They just seemed so relaxed and confident and sure of themselves. Oregon, I felt like this team, and I grossly underestimated them. I thought Duke would have beaten them. I felt like Oregon was a team that fell up the stairs into the number one seed, playing a kind of playing the better part of the Pac-12 schedule and winning big in the big wins.
They for real.
But they are for real, and they do every. Here's what I didn't get. I thought it was your Pac-12 style where they either went fast-paced or they were a finesse team that kind of finessed its way to the basket and shot threes. One of those formulas that seems to fit these West Coast teams. That isn't the case. This team does everything well. They're well-disciplined. They play good defense. They play good defense in man and in man zone. So Oklahoma's going to have their hands full, but I watched the way the Sooners have played this year, and they're really a bend but don't break team. And I believe that stars win big games, and so I'm going to throw my lot in with Buddy Hield and the Oklahoma Sooners to be the first team to knock out a number one seed. Interestingly, it'll happen in the regional finals. Nonetheless, I think Oregon will be the first number one seed to fall, and Oklahoma goes on to the Final Four.
Oklahoma. I picked Oklahoma also to be in my Final Four, and when you have a player like Buddy Hield, you said it yourself, one player can affect, and we've seen historical runs of one player, like I remember here recently, maybe Kemba Walker.
Good goal, yeah.
When he went on their little run, and he just kind of just took over. His game stepped up, and it was just, he pretty much won that championship by himself, and it seems to be contagious with your team.
Got himself into the lottery, too.
Right.
Didn't hurt him.
Right. Didn't hurt him at all. And I think he was a senior.
He was.
His game blossomed. Sort of reminds me of Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's a senior, and he's blossoming this year. You know what I mean? So he has the experience. He also has the range, and he is, incredible. He has no fear, and it rubs off on his teammates. So we've seen Buddy Hield. I've seen him a lot this year, so I kind of know what they can do. On the other hand, Oregon being on that in the Pacific Northwest, being in the Pac-12, we don't get to see these guys a lot.
That's true.
And so number one seed, whatever, they're okay, but these guys are good. These guys are no joke, especially as I see the way they dismantled Duke.
Yeah, well, they chopped them into little pieces. Yeah. That's what I had to do. I mean, I haven't seen. I know that Duke has had its weak spots this year, and they had a lot of attrition last year. But I just kind of figured with Brandon Ingram, Coach K.
Duke is no slouch.
Yeah, Duke. They got picked to pieces. They were outcoached.
Right.
Coach K was outcoached in that game, and I don't see that very often.
And he was, and they were more physical.
Yep.
With this team, and Duke is, Coach K is very good at defense. He usually have those Duke guys very good at pursuing and trapping the ball and stuff like that. But Oregon overwhelmed them.
He didn't have an answer.
Their defense. He didn't have an answer for him, and so that told me a lot about Oregon. So that's why this pick is it's a little bit difficult, And with my eye test kind of shows me, Buddy Hield, of course, all the highlights and this and that. But there's something about Oregon, and Villanova, which is going to be the next game we're going to talk about. But the Oregon kind of reminds me of that type of team where, no one that really stands out for it. They have a good guard.
I couldn't name one player. I remember the kid who hit that three-pointer and kind of celebrated excessively. I couldn't even tell you his name. And he was the one they talked about the most.
Right. He was the one that Coach K was telling. He was supposed to be, they said it was a controversial whatever. Coach Post had whispered something in his ear.
So you're too good for that, yeah.
You're too good to be showboating or whatever. Like, but he said he didn't say that. So, but be that as it may, I'm gonna have to go with Buddy Hield. I'm gonna have to go with the dynamic player. I'm just having to kind of go with my eyes, but I won't be surprised at all if Oregon wins this game and go on to the Final Four.
So we're on the same page with that one. Both of us going with the University, going with Oklahoma University.
Oklahoma. Okay.
So that moves us along to the next part of the bracket, and that gives that's the game that we taking place later tonight. Kansas and Villanova.
Wow.
Now I'm gonna tell you something, Joker. If somebody told me Villanova's had a tradition, and it's not like a good tradition. It's more like a Dallas Cowboys tradition, where they find a way to get on the big stage and then go up in a ball of flames. As I'll tell you what, you look at Villanova year after year after year, and they're seeded number 1 or number 2. They had guys like Javon Pinkston, and Jay Wright always gets these big recruits, and they blow the Big East away during the regular season, end up in the big dance, and then they get there. And usually in the first or second round, they are watching the rest of the tournament from the stands. So, in my bracket, I actually had Villanova getting knocked out in the second round, and somebody had told me that these guys would be in the regional finals with a chance to go to the Final Four. I'd have taken that bet. I'd have taken that bet and taken their money with a good heart. But you know who's having the last laugh is Jay Wright and his Villanova Wildcats, and they are 1 game away from advancing to the Final Four. But the team they're crossing blades with are the Kansas Jayhawks and Bill Self. And I got to tell you, Joker, when I watch Kansas play, they look like grown men playing basketball.
Yes.
They look physical. They look imposing.
Yes.
They look like a team. My only concern with this team really is that they might be looking ahead to Houston, because they played so sure of themselves. And you look at the games. Okay, they blew Austin Peay away 105-79, but of course that's a first round game. That's a cannon fodder game for the 16 team. But then they hammered UConn. I thought UConn was underseeded at 9. That's just my opinion. UConn was never even within striking distance of that game. And then Maryland was a team, a dark horse for a lot of folks. Maryland never came within striking distance. I mean, I flipped it on a little late. The game was over by the time I turned it on. Kansas has just shredded everybody. The only team, in my opinion, that can stop Kansas is not Villanova. It is Kansas, especially. No, it's Kansas. Kansas is the only team that can stop Kansas. I thought Michigan State could have beaten them. Of course, that's the one that deserved the laugh track. But now that they're out, I think it's Kansas all the way at this point. I think Kansas wins. I think they win comfortably.
Wow, man. Kansas Jayhawks has been doing, what I think about when I think about Kansas is the big blowout wins, the dominance that they've had over the years. But I can never get over, they always collapse though. I've seen so many years where Kansas just like they were just going to be the runaway national champions, or just throughout the season where they're just, number 1.
Right.
They had all the players, but they would always fall in the NCAA tournament. They've been pretty good in this tournament. Wayne Selden, junior man with all the highlight dunks, and Perry Ellis.
Yeah, I like him.
These guys got Mr. Lucas and Mason the third. So we're going to see another team. Villanova is a team that reminds me a lot of Oregon, a team that we haven't really talked about, but they're not a number 2 seed for nothing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so being able to win the Big East, Villanova they won the Big East conference. Then this team here is not a slouch. Of course, I know the history of Villanova and the Philly boys. You know what I mean? And a very, very proud team. Jay Wright is a very, very good coach.
He is.
Very disciplined coach. They're going to play physical, and they're going to try to rough up Kansas. That's why this is a very hard game. I think this is going to be a closer game. This is going to be, I think, one of the closest games of the Elite 8 between Kansas and Villanova. Man, this is a hard pick for me. I kind of want to go with Villanova in this. They've been playing at such a high efficiency in the tournament. They're shooting as a team at about 60-something%. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know they're number 1 in percentage. They've been so efficient on the offense. So it's going to be a hard one. But I'm going to go with the guard play again. And I have to go, to win this tournament, you have to have good guard play. Kansas has that, so I'm going to go with the Jayhawks.
Well, I tell you, I'm in total agreement with that with the Kansas Jayhawks. I think this is their year.
So we
and
2 for 2.
Yeah, we're 2. We're agreeing on both of them. We're either going to sink together or swim together. The thing is like I said, basketball. Of all sports, basketball is the one where it is star-driven. You're right. You mentioned Perry Ellis, and I think he'll be the X factor. I think if he's on his game, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good day for the Kansas Jayhawks. As far as Villanova goes, look, Jay Wright is an excellent coach, but Raleigh Massimino isn't walking through that door. Neither is Ed Pinckney. Of course, that's not even a fair comparison. But
Dwayne McClain.
Yeah, but when you say Villanova, that's always going to be the first that comes to mind, really, until Jay Wright gets these guys to the promised land again. Moving. Oh, here we go. I found a fitting clip from another regular segment that we have. So we're going to move.
On the other side of town, moving quickly, rolling swiftly in the hoopty rack.
Moving on the other side of the bracket.
Man, I thought you were going to be talking about them boys down there. Them boys. What you?
No.
We're not talking about the coach.
No.
Should he go?
I mean,
Johnny Jones? Or?
If we have 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927, if you want to really wreck my Saturday and talk about Johnny Jones, hey, I will open it up to you, the listener. Otherwise, I'm not going there, at least not yet. No, the other side of the bracket is where we're going. And don't worry, Joker, I have that clip chopped right off. You don't have to worry about muting it. I saw Joker's hand reaching for it. If you listen to a little 8-ball on MJG, you know I don't need to say anymore. But nope, I got it edited for the audience.
You got it edited. Okay,
but look, on the other side of that bracket, we have the Midwest bracket is the throw your hands up bracket. Now on one side, you have it split up where you have the number 1 seed on one side of the bracket of that corner of that region. The number 1 seed on one part of the region in the bracket, and the number 2 seed on the other side of the region in the bracket. And it's set up to where if the 1 and 2 seeds continue to win, the number 1 and number 2 seed would win.
Right.
I fully expected today we would see. I on my bracket I had Iowa State and Michigan State, but I would not have been surprised to see Virginia. So I thought it would have been either Iowa State or Virginia against Michigan State. I had Michigan State penciled in. Well, surprise, surprise, Michigan State went up in flames at the hands of Middle Tennessee State, which went on to do nothing against Syracuse. And Syracuse pulled a rabbit out of the hat. I was watching the game between Syracuse and Gonzaga. I was in the gym. I saw Gonzaga was up multiple possessions late in the game.
Yeah.
I didn't stick around to watch the end. I was very surprised to see Syracuse won. I didn't see that. What happened?
Same thing. Like I was saying about a lot of these teams that's been kind of collapsing in the last minutes of the game. And, for a team like Gonzaga with Coach Mark Few, very experienced coach, been to I think they're probably the top team.
A lot of Sweet 16s.
A lot of Sweet 16s. And I was going to say they're one of the top teams with the most consecutive bids so far.
I believe it.
It's Gonzaga. I want to say it's 18, 19 years straight getting the NCAA bid appearance.
A true mid-major powerhouse.
True mid-major powerhouse.
And I thought they were ridiculously underseeded at 11. That was just my opinion. I know they had to win their tournament to get in, but this is Gonzaga, and this Coach.
And they were a play-in game, I want to say.
That's right, they sure were.
Yeah, and made it this far. So they actually did good with their experience, I think, by being there and a couple of players they have. But in the same way, Syracuse was losing that game the whole game, didn't lead the game until maybe the end of the second half, or close to the end of the second half, with maybe under 6 minutes to play. And when the game started getting tight, Gonzaga made all the moves they made. They were shooting threes. But, in the game of basketball, in the last 2 minutes, you have to be able to execute, and who's going to be able to make the plays. And Syracuse, with their length, with their defense, made the free throws and made the plays needed to be made. And, Gonzaga come up a little bit short, man, and it was kind of unfortunate. But you can say that Gonzaga let it get away or Syracuse kind of stole the game, but I just look at it as, you got to play all the way into the last second.
That's right.
You really do.
Mark Few made the critical mistake. I always get ready to call him Pew. Mark Few made the critical mistake of playing into his opponent's game. And when that opponent, first of all, it's almost always a recipe to lose in a game of checkers. But in a game of basketball, it's a recipe to lose, and especially when the person whose hands you're playing into are those of Jim Boeheim.
Right.
And when he started, you could tell what I did see before I stopped watching was the pace of play by Gonzaga start to change. I just figured they were far enough ahead to ride it out, and then I get home and see the final score. So I'm going to go out there on a limb, and Joker, you saw it, so I mean you would know better than I did. I'm just going to go ahead and say, would it be fair to say they played right into Syracuse's hands, and that's when Syracuse took their hands and ripped the game away from them?
Yeah, pretty much so. That's pretty much how it happened. So now we know Syracuse is going to move on. They have an opportunity now to be able to, turn around a year that was kind of an up and down year with them, with Coach Boeheim being coming off a suspension and vacated wins from last year and stuff like that. But to be able to him to come back, this team finally started to get a little bit of momentum and play together. Shows what a good Coach Boeheim is, and that they can play through the distractions. But we're going to see where they're moving forward. They're playing tomorrow, right?
They're playing tomorrow. It's the first game in. It is, I got to tell you, though, when Coach Perry Daniels talks about this all the time. And first of all, I always say that basketball is a star-driven game, and stars do win games. But college basketball, more so than the pros, I think is driven heavily. Doggone it! My clever, pithy sound bites get ruined. Just pull it down for a second to this ad. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not going to get snooked into saying what it is like I did last time. This ad goes away. But college basketball is about coaching, and I'm going to tell you something. When it comes to coaching in college basketball, that often makes a difference. And my money in this UVA Syracuse game this year, as great of a coach as Jim Boeheim is on Tony Bennett. No, not this Tony Bennett. But I think this is Tony Bennett's year. Virginia last year looked really, really good. Their defense was so locked down it was smothering, but their style of play was almost downright boring. They really held the ball, tried to run the shot clock down. I thought that was a strategy that would eventually cause them to be felled in the NCAA tournament, and that's exactly what happened to them. This is different. This is a different Virginia team. Tony Bennett made the adjustments, and he's mixed his smothering defense with an opportunistic offense, and when they see the tiniest little hole to go in and score, they do it. And that's the difference. That's why Virginia's, they're number one yet again this year, but I think they're a stronger number one, a number one that can score some points. As far as Boeheim goes, I think he's done an excellent job turning the program around from his suspension in the start of the season, but I do think Cinderella, the carriage turns back into a pumpkin at the stroke of midnight this year. First of all, I think they're going to be fewer than 110 points scored in this game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. And the battle of the coaches, once again, Tony Bennett, University of Virginia.
University of Virginia Cavaliers. Speaking of somebody that's cavalier, man, I know a guy that's very cavalier. He's actually going to be coming on this show next. Well, he'll be following this show, and he goes by the name of Noel Jackson
with Music Satisfaction right here on 96.9 FM WHYR Baton Rouge Community Radio. I didn't see that coming, Joker.
Yeah, you didn't see that coming. I had to get Noel in there, man. Noel does such a great job.
He sure does.
Over here, man.
It's a great show.
Selection, and I'm just hearing more and more people now, ask me about Noel, and just the way that the music selection that he does.
Exactly.
And that's what sets him apart. And plus the stories. And he has the history behind him. And that's what I like to hear.
And he knows it so well. He doesn't even have to write it down. He has it on the top of his head. He doesn't have a computer sitting out like we do, and he has it.
He has it. He has it right here in above his shoulders. And so what a great guy and what a great ambassador, So shouts out to
great show,
Jackson.
folks. If you tune into the radio, if you're by the radio, stay tuned in. You will not be sorry. You will not be tweeting us at LAA Sports, Louisiana All American Sports at LAA Sports, tweeting us saying, hey, Eric, what are you talking about? There's a waste of my time. No, you're going to enjoy it. So tune in. Noel Jackson, Music Satisfaction. 225-343-9927. 225-343-9927 to get into the conversation. Joker, Boeheim versus Bennett.
Boeheim versus Bennett. I'm going to have to go with the Cavaliers, even though, because Syracuse, they don't have Carmelo Anthony. He's not coming back. I think they made a great run so far. I think Boeheim has done, the best he can do with what he had. But the Cavaliers, without LeBron James, not the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Virginia Cavaliers. I'm going with these guys to head to the Final Four. I'm impressed actually with all of the number one seeds. They came. They came to play this year. Usually you'll see in the best set
exactly
with number one seeds let down, and I'm impressed with all four of these teams. And this year really, to me, is a 1 year where the playing field is really even all the way across, and it's pretty much wide open. It's not like that year when they had Kentucky and Davis, where they were just pretty much theirs to lose.
Right.
And everybody was looking at them. Or I remember with the heartbreak of Wichita State.
Yes.
I think they went 33 or 32-0 and get all the way to.
And they got paired up. What was it? They went to the Final Four, right?
Yep. Yeah, and ended up losing. So let's see how things turn out. It's all four teams this year, all four even teams.
And I don't remember, Joker. I don't remember any of the games involving the top seeds ever being really particularly close. I can't think of any that were close.
So they've been coming in and doing what they have to do. They've been. There hasn't been any close games or close calls for none of the number one seeds I can recall. Top of my head.
I'm looking at it.
And so my pick is going to be for the Cavaliers, and that's the Virginia Cavaliers to beat Syracuse Orangemen.
Well, so we're on 3 for 3 right now.
3 for 3 right now.
So the very last game of the final regional final. There we go. Is in the East region. As the top seeded North Carolina Tar Heels will host the 6th seeded Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I got to say, I underestimated North Carolina. I thought they were an overrated number one seed. But Roy Williams and company are proving me wrong. They're just shredding.
Man.
They're shredding. And what they did to Indiana last night made me stand up and take notice. I don't even think the game is competitive. I don't have to wrestle with myself on this one. I think the Tar Heels cruise right in. I think Notre Dame now, let me say this much. If any team could sneak up on you, it's a team that's coached the way they are because they're an up-tempo team. They find ways to put the ball in the basket. They have no quit in them. I just think North Carolina, again, it's kind of like with Kansas. I think the only team that can stop North Carolina in the East region anyway is North Carolina.
Wow. Of course, North Carolina. This is probably one of the easier picks. I think North Carolina has the easiest route to get to the Final Four, which I think they will get in. This team is the most talented team out of all the teams left in the tournament. This team they have horses for real. North Carolina does, and it's really all about Roy Williams. Can he get these guys to play, together? Can these guys play consistently? If they do that, then the tournament is pretty much theirs to lose, athletically wise and just on paper, North Carolina. But, so I'm predicting these guys to beat Notre Dame and get into the Final Four. That's when we start getting into the meat of what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So it would be. Let's get to our I guess we're gonna get to our championship picks too, right?
Let's hit that next week because remember the Final Four starts on Saturday. Yeah, right, so your pick on this one is
NC.
Oh, here we go.
Stand up, take your shirt off. We're like a helicopter. Take your shirt off. When you're like a helicopter. You remember that?
Oh yeah. It's like the only song representing North Carolina, only rap song ever representing North Carolina. I got a funny side story to play with this. It was it was the year this song came out in 2002, and I've had Saints season tickets forever. And I remember that year the Saints they started off like 9-3, and then Aaron Brooks got hurt and his shoulder was bad, and they never sat him, and they wound up losing like their last 4 in a row. And it was mostly division games. It was like at all the games, like when they played the Buccaneers, right? And they had they won that game. That was the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl that year. But anyway, they kept playing all this Luther Campbell and all this Florida rap, and then they had the Falcons come in, and they're playing Outkast and stuff over the loudspeakers in between the timeouts. And then we had the Panthers last week of the year, and they're playing. I'm like, stop playing this theme music for the opponent. They had Petey Pablo playing. I'm like, the only North Carolina song in the book. And they're blasting this over the loudspeakers. Stop. You're helping them out too much. But, anyway, I digress very badly. Look, we got a few minutes left, and I'll tell you where the drama's really starting to go down is in the where the young men go to grown men in the National Basketball Association.
Oh, yeah.
The story has been so far has been the Golden State Warriors this year. They're on pace right now to eclipse the 1996 Chicago Bulls record of 72 wins in a season. They have, if I remember, they have 6 losses now this year.
Well, they have 7. They're 65-7.
65-7, which means by my count, I'm no mathematician, but that means they have 10 games left to play. That's a total of 72 games played. I don't see any way. Well,
they need 8 out of 10.
Yeah, they need to win 8 out of 10 to beat the record. I think very least they tie the record. I don't see there's any way they're losing 4 out of 10 at all. So the question really is whether or not they can break it. And they've been really one of the biggest stories of the year, Joker. And they've had some great games on Saturday night that ABC is. I thought that's the smartest thing they did was ABC primetime. I mean, they had the game against Oklahoma City where Steph Curry was just shooting from 32, 33 feet. No big deal. Russell Westbrook was looking like a sucker. That looked like I said at the playground where one guy says, "What? You gonna give me that?" And he shoots it. Steph Curry saying that before he even takes the ball across half court and making it. That was, these guys have just been unbelievably incredible to watch.
Man, it has been like wow. I asked the coach last night about how fast just the game has changed with Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. And now every young guy wants to be a 3-point shooter.
Right, it's not dunking.
2 years ago, they wanted to dunk the ball. They wanted to be LeBron James.
Posterize people.
Right, and I think just with Steph Curry and the size and what he's doing, people can't relate to that because it just gives them hope. Say, well, this guy's not, 6'8", 260 pounds. He reminds me of me, and it kind of gives, the hope to the little guy out there in the backyard shooting. Maybe I could be Steph Curry, and that's what he does, and he has everything is, he just has the right image. I mean, just everything is laid out perfect for Steph Curry, and for him to be doing what he's doing after last year winning the championship, being overlooked as a team. They came out this year with a vengeance to defend their title, and him for the defender be the MVP. Last year was, was a debate whether him or James Harden, and they were actually thinking about giving him the most improved player and the MVP award.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, they're really seriously thinking about giving him the most improved player. Even though he won the MVP, how can you improve an MVP?
But he has.
But he has.
He has raised that bar,
really
Joker.
Has.
He absolutely. And you look at the Golden State, right? They're undefeated at home this year. You'd have to assume that any chance they really have at losing would come on the road this year, right? Or San Antonio's had their number. And
you know what a guy made an interesting point, and this will be a great talking point. We'll have to talk about this one day. With San Antonio's, what they're doing is getting overlooked. They've only lost 11 games this year. They're on a pace to right behind the Bulls' record. So but by Golden State being so dominant, San Antonio is taking a little bit of a shadow. San Antonio has been undefeated at home this year. San Antonio's what they're doing, those two teams are head and shoulders above the rest of the league, and it shows that.
Right.
And it's a shame that we couldn't get those two in a final. Just two of the best teams, and people was talking about how you look at the NCAA tournament. They just put your brackets in there, and the best teams end up meeting. It doesn't matter whether you're just because you're in the West Conference or. And I think they do the same thing in soccer too. There's a couple of
so I've heard
where they take the seeds.
Talking about in FIFA where they do the. Obviously I know for World Cup, but then also for like some of those other.
Well, they don't really go with conference. Well, in other words, the two best teams.
Right, they have it's like a group, like A group, B group, and so on, and they just end up after you come out of your group, they just put the best
with the best.
Right, exactly.
Right. And so it's kind of a shame, because that would be what a final would that be? If we could be able to see San Antonio against. Golden State.
It's going to be a collision course for that conference final. But I'm going to tell you something. That could be, and I'm going to tell you, I think that Golden State loses at least one more game this year because they have a game on the road at San Antonio on April 10th, and they haven't won a game in San Antonio in some ungodly number of years. Yeah. That's been their kryptonite. So I think they do lose at least one more game, and they also have San Antonio at home on the 7th, and while they haven't lost at all, they're 34-0 at home this year. That's one that stands. That's the one that's up in the air. That's no guarantee.
Those are
but other than that, I think they break the Bulls' record no matter what. I think they win at least 73 games, maybe even 74.
And that's why I think they're going to beat it too, because they're only 3 games ahead of San Antonio. You know what I mean? And so Steve Kerr is saying, well,
they're playing for something.
We were playing for something, and it coincides with the record because he was maybe thinking about maybe resting some of the players. You know what I mean? But these guys want to win, and I believe in. It doesn't matter. The more you win, the better team you're going to become. You're going to get used to winning. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who you play. You win that many games in a season, 72 games, why not go for it? You're a well-oiled machine by the time you get to the playoffs.
And then
you're used to winning. Everything, 80-90% of the time, we win. And so I wouldn't break that up and say, we're going to rest these guys last 5 games. Oh, no.
They're still fighting for that top seed anyway.
Right, so.
I'll tell you, too, watch keep that eye, that peripheral eye on Oklahoma City. I know they're a step behind, but they're not that far behind.
You're exactly
they're not that far behind.
They're the wild card. The Clippers,
Clippers are always a wild card, right?
Yeah, and East is like it's laid out, and that's why people starting to say about with the playoff, the balance, all the teams in the West, all the good teams, and it's like Cleveland gets the easy path every year, and he got controversy enough.
Yeah, LeBron's
going on with.
I was gonna say what I was going with that segue to the NBA, the old NBA on NBC music was Golden State's been the story all year. LeBron's been the story all week. He's injected himself back in the news. Basketball, unlike many other sports, is so much about that personal drama off the court, which is what makes it fun to watch. It's almost kind of like professional wrestling. Only the participants have skill, and actually it's not predictated. So of course some conspiracy theorists might say otherwise. But LeBron James, opening up that door again, talking about, they'll to play with Carmelo or CP3. Well, they better go to Cleveland. Otherwise, I'll tell you, his house is going to get burnt to the ground in Akron.
And I was listening to Jalen Rose. He made a great point. He said that, LeBron is a brand. Mm-hmm. For him to be open and just come out and talk, he had to. It's a calculated reason.
Absolutely.
They're suspecting that it's not to say that he would leave. They're thinking about bringing Carmelo.
Well, could you imagine? Well, the city of Cleveland.
Carmelo can opt out. They're thinking about Carmelo and Love. So that's a little nugget for the people out there. Don't be surprised to see Carmelo end up in a Cavaliers.
Well, a healthy Carmelo in Cleveland.
Or possibly Kyrie Irving for Chris Paul.
That would be a reasonable trade. That would benefit both teams. Cleveland would get that
young
push,
right?
Cleveland, they would get that push to the title that they need right away. LA would get a young budding superstar. That would actually work. Of course, Kyrie Irving might not feel that way, but but you look at it, Cleveland, they might as well just, unless LeBron twists an ankle or something, they might as well just stop the playoffs and put Cleveland in the finals right now. The only team I've even seen that might even give them a little run for it is Toronto, and they do have a tough home court advantage, but DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry are not Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. So here's the thing. I actually think if it comes to it, as long as it's not Golden State, I think Cleveland has a chance. In other words, if San Antonio can steal one on Golden State's home court and beat the Warriors, or Oklahoma City, can man up on them, I think the Cavs have a chance. But if it's Golden State, those matchups are the worst. Of all those teams you mentioned, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and Cleveland, it is the worst against Cleveland and Golden State. That is the worst matchup for the Cavs. So how much time, hit that space bar, see how much time we have left on that computer up there. We have. We're out of time. Oh my goodness!
Wait a minute.
So we got to wrap this one up. Sorry about that.
Gonna kill us.
Noel's not gonna be too happy. So, Joker, I'll turn it over to you before I go ahead, man.
Hey, man, I just want to give shouts out to everybody in Baton Rouge. I want you guys to be safe, have fun, and happy Easter. Happy
Easter, and shout outs to Baton Rouge's semi-pro football team of the Southern Developmental Football League, the Louisiana Eagles, my squad.
Yeah, boy.
And have a good afternoon.
Hail to the King and Lords of Lords. May He protect us from the evil. Hail to the King, Lords of Lords.